Hello there, I'm Nathalia Melo, your unfiltered fit BFF, mom of two turned CEO of a fitness empire. Someone who understands the struggles of trying to stay fit, sane, and sexy, all while juggling work, life, and motherhood. And this is the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. Follow along wherever you're listening and join me weekly as I help busy working moms just like you simplify their fitness journey so they can lose weight, regain their confidence, and feel sexy AF. It's time to stop living in the what ifs and hiding from the cameras. It's time to regain control over your body, feel sexy naked, and wear a bikini confidently. People already see you as a super confident woman, but it's time for you to feel the same way too. Let's go. Hello there, fam. Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. I'm Nathalia Melo, your host, and today's topic is lit. I have a few announcements, so I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and then I'm going to talk about our announcements real quick, and then we're going to go straight into today's topic, which is a topic that has been living rent-free in my brain and in my heart, and I just wanted to get the right words in order to be able to do this podcast today, because that is something that has been in my mind for a very long time. And before we move forward, I want you to think about these questions that I'm going to ask and ask yourself if these have been things that you've done or even thought about doing. Have you ever found yourself in a place with your body that you weren't happy with, but you didn't want to voice it because you felt vain? Is this something you ever experienced? Or maybe you even said it. Oh, I don't want to sound vain. Is this something you ever done? Or have you ever told yourself that you didn't care about the weight on the scale because you thought that that was the right thing? Everybody out there saying like, oh, it doesn't matter. You should love yourself just how you are, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, I'm not worried about the scale. Or you thought about it. This episode today is for you. So don't go anywhere, because I have a quick announcement to make, which is just a thank you. A huge thanks to our listeners for continuously leaving incredible reviews on the Apple Podcast platform. That's the only one that allows for actual reviews. On Spotify, you can rate it, but you cannot leave reviews. So if you can, please continue to leave your reviews on Apple Podcast. That's how you pay me back. Share the episode. Anything that resonates with you and you find that it is going to make an impact on somebody's life, please share it. Sharing is caring, and it tells me the more listeners do we have, it tells me that this is the message that you want to listen to. It's resonating with you, and it is something that it is truly making an impact in your life. And I'm going to read a quick review here that was left, which was from Maddie, who is a member of the Powerhouse Academy. So thank you, Maddie. And by the way, guys, I do not bribe the girls to leave reviews, FYI. Okay? Before anybody says it, oh my God. Nope, don't do it. And this one's from Maddie is, love the bluntness. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Your podcast has helped me in all phases of my fitness journey, physically and mentally. Thank you so much, Maddie. Thanks for the review. And I truly appreciate you and all you've done for our community. Thank you. All right. So now we're going to go back to the topic today. This is something that I have been seeing repeatedly, but in more recent times, I have been seeing even with more frequency with the conversations that I have on social media, with the calls that I do with, learning more about people, those who are interested in working with us. I always like to have the call because I find that it helps me understand the person in a more human level. And I'm seeing a trend. And the trend is that there is a significant lack of clarity on the goals. And whenever I start to peel the layers, I'm starting to realize that the lack of clarity on the goals, especially when it comes to women, it's a fear of being judged. So whenever I'm talking to someone, I always like to ask what the person's goals are, because I cannot even tell someone or point them into the right direction in a free resource if I don't know what their goals are. And 9 out of 10 times, the goals are very vague. And as I start to peel the layers when I'm already on a call with a person, it normally goes a bit like this. Oh, I've gained about 15 pounds in the past, 6 months. and I don't feel happy in my body. And then I'm like, okay, sorry to hear that. So what exactly is your goal right now? It never fails. I don't care about the scale. I just want to feel good. Here's the problem with not having a tangible and a specific goal. Because whenever we're talking about feel good, I get it. Everybody wants to feel good. But it's very hard to measure. And what I'm noticing is that a lot of people are answering the politically correct answer, which is like, I want to feel good. I want to be healthy. And listen, yes, you want to be healthy. You want to feel good. But if in the beginning of the conversation, the first thing that you told me was that you gained 15 pounds and that made you unhappy. And now when I ask about what your goal is, you don't mention your wish for losing the 15 pounds that you gained. There is going to exist a big disconnect between what you truly want, between what you're saying, and between what the person who you're speaking to about your goals understands about your goals. Do you see what I'm saying? Because if you tell me, oh, I just want to feel good and be healthy, cool, I can do that. But you're going into the process with an expectations of it being losing the 15 pounds that you gained. But because society, like everything in the fitness space, the pendulum is constantly swinging into the extremes. You know, before everybody was obsessed with the scales. And then we went the complete opposite side, which is like the scale doesn't matter. Oh my God, you're looking at the number on the scale. Oh, absolutely not. And I strongly disagree with that, because the truth of the matter is that if somebody tells me that they gained 15 pounds and that made them not feel good because they no longer fit in their clothes or they no longer want to wear a swimming suit, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that we are talking about the weight on the scale. It might not be 15 pounds. We don't have to get married to that number, but it is a tool of measurement that we need to use, because whenever you start to peel the layers, that person, in fact, does want to lose some weight. And here's the thing. Do I think that the scale is absolute? Absolutely not. In fact, our head coach, Jen, her son, is a boxer. And she made a post in our community this weekend that I thought was brilliant, which was he had to meet weight and he was 1 pound over, and he went to the bathroom. He sweated a little bit, and then he dropped the 1 pound that he had to lose to meet the weight in just a few hours. So is the scale absolute? No. My weight fluctuates greatly from the moment I open my eyeballs to the moment I go to bed, depending if I have gone to the bathroom or if I have eaten something, that has too much salt and I'm going to be retaining water. But just because the scale is not a absolute, it does not necessarily mean that it's not a tool. And I think that that is the part that is being misunderstood by a lot of people whenever they're trying to voice what their goals are. It's almost like they want to pretend that they don't care, because goodness forbid you care about the skill. There is no shame. I'm telling you right now, there is absolutely no shame in wanting to lose weight on the scale. Listen, we are living in a society that last time that it was checked in the United States of America, which was before the pandemic, 42% of the population were obese or overweight. So there is a problem with excess fat. Is the scale going to tell the absolute number of what is muscle and what is fat? No, it's not. However, there is also a threshold of how much muscle you can realistically gain. And if you are not training, if you're not eating adequate protein, and you're being more sedentary, and that number is going up, it ain't muscle. So we need to look at that number as one of the tools to measure where you are and where you want to be, and not having clarity on what that is in a more tangible way is just going to create frustration for you because you feel like you cannot be honest with yourself or for whomever is alongside you in that journey about what your true goal is. I will never, ever judge a person who comes to me and tells me that they have a fat loss goal. Why? Because people know their bodies. We can sit here and pretend that the scale doesn't matter, but it does. It doesn't absolutely matter. But if we're looking at photos and we're looking at the scale and we're looking how clothes fit, completely ignoring the scale is going to make people become completely alienated from where they are. And then by the time they realize how far from what their actual quote unquote, what their normal is, by the time they realize that is going to be when they have been living in stretchy clothes and they stretchy clothes now are tight because they have not kept a hand on the pulse with some kind of measurement tool. And if this is you, I understand. I hear you. But the amount of women that I speak to every single day that they're like, oh my goodness, I don't like to weigh myself. And I didn't realize until I saw a photo and I didn't recognize myself in that photo. Or until I went into my closet and my stretchy Lululemon pants were tight on me. So there needs to be some kind of like measurable tool. Are we going to look at the scale as an absolute? No. But if I have somebody that comes to us and they're, I don't know, a BMI of 32, and listen, I know BMI is not perfect, but it gives an indication of where that person is. So if somebody comes to us and they're like a BMI of 32, and then they tell me, oh, I want to tone up, there is a disconnect on what the actual goal is at this moment and what the reality is. Because if somebody is a BMI of 32, the initial goal is going to be very hard to build a significant amount of muscle on that person because they are going to have a very hard time moving as well and having the stamina to do lifts that are going to contribute to building muscle. So we need to be honest with our expectations, where we are and where we want to go. Absolutely, we can get somebody who starts at a BMI of 32. We can absolutely get them to tone up. But at this moment in time, the first goal would be to lose some fat, which is going to be measured to an extent with the scale. But I find that women are almost like they have been brainwashed and conditioned to make it seem like they don't care about the scale because otherwise, you're going to be perceived as vain, which then brings me to my other part of this conversation, which is a poll that I did recently on my social media. And I am going to read for you right now. I'm going to go to my archives on my stories because it absolutely blew my mind. And the reason that I did this poll was because I also, from speaking with women, a lot of the conversations that I've been having, it never fails. And I find that it's been getting progressively worse in more recent times. Never fails. First thing that I hear is like, well, this is going to sound vain. It's almost like people want to give the politically correct answer that is not the one that is true in their heart. It's like, oh, I don't want to be vain. Baby girl, you want to look hot. You want to feel sexy as shit on a swimming suit. I am here for it. I support you. It is not my place to tell you what your goal should be. If you want to look smoking hot, naked for your husband, I will be the first cheerleader that is going to be like, yes, queen, let's go. But I don't know where in time it has almost become a sin to want to look good. Because here's the part that blows my mind even more. People that look good normally feel good. And what happens is that I call it toxic body positivity. That is like encouraging women and some men as well, but I find that mostly with women, it's like, oh, you just need to feel good. Like you're just so blessed. Like this happens a lot whenever women are going through big milestones in their lives. Like if they have a kid and they're like, I would love to look X, Y, and Z. Oh, but you shouldn't worry about that. You are just so blessed. And it's like that gaslighting. No, like I feel like I'm blessed, but I still want to look hot as shit. What is wrong with that? Or if a woman is entering the perimenopause or menopause and they look a bit better than most of their friends because they have taken care of their bodies. And if they say, oh, I would love to look X, Y, and Z, everybody's like, but why? Oh my goodness, but that's so vain. Oh no, you look great. Stay just right there. You should be grateful that you are, 50 and you look this way. What is it with the constant gaslighting? Because here's the thing. Anybody that says that, oh, you should be grateful. You're not helping the person because now they're just going to bottle it up and pretend everything is great. It's kind of like the toxic positivity. Pretend everything is great, but deep down, it's not great. But they are having to pretend that everything is great and show up to places pretending everything is great when deep inside is not great. And I have a problem with that. And I have been a big advocate about being honest with what your goals are. And just because one person has a certain set of standards for themselves, it doesn't mean that you have to have the same set of standards for yourself. So back to the idea of vanity, which is something that I get told all the time. Oh no, I have like this, it's a very vain goal. And I'm like, girl, I won the biggest vanity contest on the planet. We want to talk about vanity here. Let's do it. So I did this poll. And look at the double standard. It's wild. Do you feel vain for having aesthetic goals for your fitness journey? This was a question for women because my page is mostly women. And I checked and it was all women that replied. And the answers were a bit, sure do, or not at all. The a bit and sure do accounted for 32% of the answers. Okay. So 32% of the women who replied to this anecdotal research that I did on my social media platform said that they feel vain for having aesthetic goals for their fitness journey. Now is the kicker. Check this out. If a man tells you that he has aesthetic goals in regards to his fitness, do you automatically think he's vain? The answers were absolutely so vain. I think I would. And then not at all. The combination of the absolutely so vain and I think I would is 12% because the absolute so vain is 7 and the I think I would is 5. All right. So 12% of the people, which is mostly women, 32% of them said that they feel a bit vain or absolutely feel vain for having aesthetic fitness goals. That's 32%. Whenever I flipped the question and I asked if a man told you that he had aesthetic fitness goals, would you think that he's vain? And the answer was that I think I would, and so vain was 12%. There is a 20% difference between the perception of vanity for men and women. Why? Why is it that women, and I find that that's particularly true after women enter a certain age, which oftentimes comes with having kids and being a wife or being married or, having a partner. Whenever they enter that season of life, it's almost like they must only care about those around them, but not about themselves. Why? Why is it okay? It is not vain for a man to have aesthetic goals, But the majority of women think that for them to have aesthetic goals is vain. Why? Now, I think that the problem might be with the word that is being used. So I was like, you know what? Let me look up here the meaning of the word vain. So let's go here to the dictionary. Vain, having or showing undue or excessive pride in one's appearance or achievements, marked by futility or ineffectualness. And then he has other words that is like unsuccessful, useless. And then the other definition is having no real value. And I think that whenever you read the words around the meaning of the word vain, that is another thing that concerns me. Because why are we even using the word vain to begin with? Because stay with me here. Imagine that you are someone that works full time. You have kids. You take your kids to their activities. You take care of the house. You manage your household. You are a wife or a partner, or maybe you are a single mom. You're taking care of all those things. How is it that you have no real value? How is it that you are unsuccessful or useless? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, even if you monumentally obsess over your appearance, and this is me going the full extreme. Say that you obsess over how you look and that's what you think, and you're still doing all those other things and showing up for your family and showing up for your kids and doing all the activities and working, and you know what I'm saying? I don't know if having no real value would be the right definition. So why is it that whenever we're trying to describe, especially for women, describing bettering themselves is perceived as vain, useless, having no real value? Because whenever we look at it, and this is coming from a lot of experience, trust me, I've done so many calls with people where I get to hear their stories, and not feeling good in their bodies is having a significant negative impact in their lives. Many times, the women that I speak to struggle to be intimate with their partners because they don't like what they see. Not their spouses, but themselves. And a lot of times what I hear back is like, oh, but my husband doesn't care. But we're not talking about him. We're talking about you. Are you being able to show up as the best version of yourself in your marriage, regardless of what he says? Because this is about you and how you truly feel. I have spoken with women that wouldn't get out of their cars in their kids' soccer game because they didn't want to be seen by other parents. I've spoken with women that haven't taken photos with their kids for years, unless they were selfies. And everything else is pictures of their kids and the dad or everybody else. And it's like the mother is a ghost that never existed. It's always in the behind the camera. Is it really vain, worthless, useless to want to do something that is going to help you show up as a better version of yourself for the people who truly love you and who need you as your best? Is it? Why is it considered vain to take care of that one body that you are going to live in for the rest of your life? Why? So what I encourage you is to understand that, one, you have to become clear with what your goals actually are. Not what society wants you to say that your goals are, but what your true goals are. There is nothing wrong with saying that you want to lose weight. If you're noticing that your life is being impacted by not feeling good in your body and you know that that is happening because you put on weight, Why in the world are we not talking about it? Why are we brushing it over with the toxic body positivity and pretending that that is not an issue? It might not be an issue for some people, but if it is for you, you have to voice it. And just because people are flying flags out there saying that you shouldn't give a shit about the scale, but you do because you do want to lose weight, fuck them. You are not them. But you have to be clear, because the more time you spend with this imaginary kind of non-specific goal setting that you don't even know where you're going, the longer it's going to take for you to get to where you want to be. In fact, the longer it's going to take, because you're not only wasting time by not taking action now, but you're also likely to keep on going backwards because you don't even know where you want to go, because you're being told that you should feel a certain way, that you should see a certain thing. When deep down in your heart, you know you might feel unhappy with the size clothes you're wearing. And there is nothing wrong with feeling. Now, it shouldn't be your whole identity. It shouldn't be, what you live for every single day. To step on the scale and see, it is not the definition of who you are. But if you know that is robbing you from experiences, it's robbing you from being truly present with your family, it's robbing you from enjoying life. Girl, life is short. Like, whenever we look in the grand scheme of things, life is short. Why are you going to keep on moving with life in a manner that is not serving you? Because society now has completely changed the direction in which the pendulum swings. And now, God forbid, you talk about being uncomfortable in your body and that you want to lose some weight because, oh my God, how dare you? You should be grateful. But this isn't about them. This is about you and how you feel. And my whole goal with this episode right now is not to shame anybody for what their goals are. Is not to tell you how to feel if you weigh X, Y, or Z. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about what your weight is. What I do give a shit is how you truly feel inside. Meanwhile, you're pretending that you don't feel. That I give a shit. Because you're living this like facade and wanting to justify with the wrong word, saying that you're vain because you want to take care of your body. I don't see anyone going to, someone who is struggling to walk and saying that they're vain because how dare you wanting to stand up? You see what I'm saying? That was probably a terrible example, but you know what I mean. But whenever we're talking about physical appearance, it's like a free for all. Everybody wants to have an opinion. And it's like you're forced to feel the feelings that other people think that you should feel. And you're not even able to come to the conclusion yourself. And because of it, you're not able to be clear with those around you, your spouse. Hey, this isn't just about the weight, it's about how I feel. Chances are that men are going to be like, oh, but you look great. I love you just how you are. Blah, blah, blah. And love that for you, boo. Love that for you. But don't let that distract you from the goal that you truly have. And listen, if your goal is to stay where you are because it truly makes you happy and it doesn't bother you at all and it's not disrupting your life in any way, shape, and form, awesome. That's great. Love that for you. But if you're finding yourself in a place where you're uncomfortable with your body and you feel like you cannot voice your true feelings and that you're constantly worried or feeling like you're being judged because you have aesthetic goals, this episode is for you. I'm telling you that it's okay, because there is nothing more freeing than being able to come and go, to wear, to do, and to remain unbothered like you do when you feel happy and fully content with who you are and the body that you live in. And, the catalyst for me to do this podcast was this past weekend. I was like getting out of the shower and I was like kind of, when you're doing your makeup and your belly is kind of like leaning against the bathroom sink. And then my daughter looks at me and she's like, it looks like mama has a baby in her tummy, just because I was more relaxed. And I just laughed. I laughed because I don't have any emotional attachment to that kind of comment, her comment, because I truly feel happy and content in the body that I live in. So comments like that, and I know that she didn't say it in any harm. It's just because she's used to see me one way, and I was like fully relaxed, like leaning on the bathroom sink. She didn't do it out of badness or to be mean. She just said it. But I know that if I lived in a body that I didn't feel comfortable in and that I didn't feel like it was mine and that I had control over, that would have sent me in a downward spiral. And that's what I mean. Because kids are going to make comments. People are going to make comments. Whenever you feel truly happy with who you are inside and you're doing something because it is aligned with your goals and you're being clear on those goals and the outcomes, everything else just becomes background noise that you kind of really don't give a shit. But to get to that place, you need to have clarity on what you want, what needs to happen, and in a tangible way, be able to voice that. So if you do decide to get help from anybody, you're able to say what you want in a way that leaves no room for interpretation. That is the only way that change happens. So if anybody tells you in absolute terms that the scale doesn't matter, they're full of shit. It does matter. Is it the only thing that matters? Absolutely not. It's a tool. It's just a tool out of a big toolbox. And sometimes, it's kind of like, imagine that I weigh my car and it has a full tank or it has an empty tank. That's going to look different. It's still going to be a car. So we need a little bit of context as to what happened when. It's still a very nice car, gas or no gas. One is going to be heavier. The other one is going to be not so heavy. But we need context. And that's what the scale does. Is it an absolute? Again, I'm going to tell you, no, it's not. But it's a tool. And we need to be clear with that. If you truly don't give a shit about the scale, cool, awesome. But if you start the conversation saying, I gained 20 pounds, but I don't care about the scale, I'm going to call out your bullshit because that's a lie. And until people are open to truly being honest about what their goals are, I want to, I just want to feel good and be healthy. Great. What does that look like? Oh, I don't know. I just want to feel good. What does feel good look like? Looking sexy as shit in a bikini? Cool. We need to have clarity on what the goal is and what the goal looks like. And stop calling yourself vain or whatever other nonsensical word comes around because you want to feel good in your body, because you want to wear a bikini, because you want to, be able to, wear whatever the hell you want because it consumes your soul every single morning when you're getting ready for work, that you have to spend 30 minutes of your day trying 25 different outfits from your closet. And then you end up in the same stretchy pants that you wore yesterday. It's not vain to want to change that. It's called self-love because you know that it's impacting your life. So if you needed a sign to become more clear on what your goals are and what needs to happen, this is it. This is your sign. I hope this podcast today was helpful. If you have any thoughts, any questions, send me a message on the gram. I share this episode with anybody who you think would benefit from it. I love hearing you guys' feedback. So if you have any feedback, send me a message. I would love to hear from you. And I'll see you next week. Adios. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. But let me ask you, what was your aha moment in today's episode? I would love to know. You can leave me a comment or voice message at the link in the show description. You can also follow me on Instagram and let me know what topics you want to hear more about or who I should have on the show. As for today, this is it for today, guys. I'll see you back next week for another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast.